Good evening, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the conference. The food certainly is good. The speakers, well, it's always a joy. The fellowship, at least for me, is always the best part of the conference, getting together with my brothers and sisters from around the country. So, tomorrow, we begin at 7 a.m. with breakfast, morning prayer here at 8:15, and then we begin by listening to Bill Dightwick at 8:30.
Hey,
What?
This NDICE?
No, it's the Cat Lovers Convention.
Oh, is this the Cincinnati Center?
This is the Cincinnati Center. See,
Navy
yes.
University?
Is it? Yeah.
All right, I got a load of pepper for you.
Pepper?
Yeah, I got a load of pepper for you.
What kind of pepper? Red pepper? White pepper? Black pepper?
No, toilet pepper. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And welcome to another NDICE. And speaking of another NDICE, we're going to get this show on the road by our group from Louisville, Louisville. Well, you know us Cajuns, we don't talk good anyhow. So we'll get them up here and we'll get us started.
Get some of the new folks, but they wouldn't come. So they just want to watch. Do we have any music with this? Or do we make it up? Do we have any live music with it? Or no. We'll just start. Just us. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. In the key of Z, right? Go. Ready?
X, Y, Z.
Go. And dice another year, another evening of fun and cheer. So settle back. Relax, let go. Another NDICE and another show. Another NDICE, another year. We deacons come from far and near. We come to work, we come to pray. Another NDICE, may we find the way.
Another NDICE, another year. We deacon wives are glad to be here. To learn, to discern, to pray and grow, to meet with friends from Maine to Mexico.
But tonight we are taking a break. Tonight is the Holy's fun and bake. Tonight we'll ha-ha and ho-ho!
We'll listen and pray,
But tonight's the show. Another NDICE, another year. Another evening of fun and cheer. So settle back, relax, let go. Another NDICE and another show.
You know what? Anybody's better than us after this. It should be everybody.
Boy, what harmony, huh? I got to introduce myself. My name is Boudreaux. I'm from down there in a little town in Louisiana called Shupik. Not a very big town at all. But I tell you what, the They had to close the library last week. Somebody checked out the book. They brought it back, but they didn't finish coloring it. Tell you what else, too. We got everybody's all excited down there. We got a new traffic light. First time ever, a new traffic light in Shupig. Everybody's all excited. They're all trying to pick out the colors and everything. We ain't got much industry down there. I'll tell you, I guess the biggest industry we got down there, we got us a 400-pound Avon lady. Yeah. And I tell you what, you can always tell when you're getting close to a barricade. You got that sign that says Dangaroos intersection ahead. And when them Dangaroos start intersecting, you better get out the way. Another thing they got down there is the lonesomest body of water in the world, by yourself. You know where the Cajuns came from. I'll tell you a little bit before we get started. I'll tell you about the Cajuns. And, we were kicked out of Nova Scotia. The English didn't like us Catholic French people. And so a lot of those Cajuns were put in the boats and sent down south. And a lot of them landed in New England. And those fine Christian folks up there didn't want them either. But if it's all the same with you, I'd hate to be known as a Cajun from Hyannisport anyhow. So they settled down all along the coast. My mama's family settled in North Carolina originally, and my daddy's family came down to Louisiana, and some of them blind Toms even landed in Texas. And so that's why the Cajuns are down there. And then when they got down there, they all went off to live in the swamps to hide because they was afraid that people was going to round them up and ship them out again. But they went to Louisiana particularly because they were Catholic, and so that was another thing. But they were to themselves in the swamps, and nobody could find them. And for many, many years, and I want you to know, we come a long way. Yeah, they always thought of us as the dummies from down the bayou, and I'm here to prove that tonight. No, without further ado, we're gonna get going, and First act up is our friend Jerry Bach. Where's Jerry? There he is.
Good evening. And as the cow said to the farmer on the cold morning, thanks for the warm hand. Y'all like the speakers we had today? And yesterday too, yeah. Jerry Jurgensen, we just had him all day. I hope Bill Dightwig was taking good notes. I just as an aside. Well, I'm up here to tell you that I love my wife. We've been happily married for 38 years. Out of 44, that's not bad. When we first met, she was a terrible cook. I mean, the flies in the neighborhood took up a collection to get the screen door fixed. But we were meant for each other. She was so skinny and I was so knock-kneed and bow-legged she was, that when we stood together, we spelled ox. Now, as you see, she learned to cook. But she was always on me to get a better job. I was a bus mechanic. And she said, you earn a lot more money as a bus driver. So I went into the boss and I said, boss, my wife's bugging me to get a job as a driver. So I wanted the job as a driver or I quit. He said, Jerry, he says, the only the bus run we've got is down on Sesame Street, and you can't handle those wackos down there. I said, I get that run or I quit. He said, okay. He throws me the keys, and off I go. Get to the very first stop, and there's a big fat girl in the corner. I open the door. She says, hi, I'm Patty. I said, welcome, Patty. I said, go to the back of the bus. Get to the next stop, and there's a guy sneezing, and his eyes were watering. Open the door, he says, hi, I'm Leonard, and I got a terrible head cold, and I got bunions on my feet. I said, well, go to the back of the bus. Don't sneeze on Patty, please. Get to the next stop. Another big fat girl. She said, hi, I'm Patty, and I got special socks on. He said, well, go to the back of the bus. And I was driving along, couldn't nobody to pick up yet. And the long mirror, we got a ruckus in the back of the bus, and I check it out in that long mirror. And here's Leonard, got both shoes and socks off, and he's picking his feet right there on the bus. I pull over the corner, and I said, the boss was right. The very first day, I got 2 obese Patties, special socks, Leonard sneezing, picking bunions on a Sesame Street run. Thank you. Well, my wife and I, we sit around watching old laugh-in reruns, and Smothers Brothers came on, and they did a bit, My Old Man's a Sailor, what do you think about that? And then they get to that, My Old Man's a cotton-picking, finger-licking chicken plucker, what do you think about that? And Dickie Smothers just said to Tommy, he said, I think you better not make a mistake. Well, this next story is about that kind of story. There were 2 young snakes hissing in the pit. Many of you know what's coming. You know. And they were hissing around in the pit, and the mama snake comes out and she says, I don't want you hissing in our pit because I'm going to the store. I want you to go over Mrs. Potts' pit to hiss. So they go over to Mrs. Potts' pit to hiss. Mom goes to the store. And they're hissing in Mrs. Potts' pit, and all of a sudden Mrs. Potts comes out and she says, what are you doing hissing in my pit? Go back to your own pit to hiss. What are you doing in my pit? Well, they tell her the story, the mom, and you know. She says, I don't want the responsibility. Go back to your own pit to hiss. So they go back to their own pit, and they're hissing around. And Mama comes home, and she says, what are you doing in my pit? I told you to go over Mrs. Potts' pit to hiss. And, well, Mrs. Potts said she didn't want the responsibility. Mrs. Potts says, we need to go back to our own pit to hiss. Mama Snake says, I don't know what Mrs. Potts all riled up about. I knew Mrs. Potts when she didn't have a pit to hiss in. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. Love you, man. You know, that's a great story. I heard, Mel Tillis, how he stutters. I heard him tell that story one time, and boy, it was touch and go there for a little while. They had the old Cajuns Club, and they had a raffle going on, and Boudreaux, Thibodeau, and Melanson entered. And Thibodeau won the first prize. He won a year's supply of gumbo. And Melanson came in second. He won 6 months' supply of boudin. And
What in the world is
boudin is Cajun sausage made with rice. And
That's not what they call it in the hood.
well, I can tell you what it looks like. And Boudreaux won third prize, a toilet brush. So a couple, 3 weeks later, they met, you know, and Thibodeau said, boy, I said, that boudin, get that boudin that gumbo every week, and man, that gumbo is so good. Ooh, I said, I can't wait to get the next week's supply. And Thibodeau said, me too, man, that boudin, that's the best boudin in the world. That come from Lafayette, Louisiana, man, where they make the good stuff. What about you, Thibodeau? Thibodeau said to Boudreaux, he said, Boudreaux, what about you and your toilet brush? He said, toilet brush? He said, I'm going back to toilet paper. All right, without further ado, after that one, we're going to have a little singing and playing from Felix Garcia. Felix, there he is. Give him a big hand.
Okay, I'm gonna sing 3 songs in Spanish, but I would always like to translate that in the beginning because music is another language, and you can express a lot of pain, a lot of joy, a lot of things. In the beginning, when I was 11 years old, I hate music because I always remember that my dad was drunk when he sings to me. But little by little, the Lord transformed all of that, and the music helped me to evangelize children, teenagers, adults. But today I'm gonna sing 3 songs from Mexico. The first one is called La Malagueña, and the Malagueña is the story about a man from Mexico who fell in love with a Spaniard girl. But he was so poor, and he has nothing to offer except his heart. The second song is called Cielito Lindo, and it's about a man who contemplates a girl coming from the mountains, and is the most beautiful girl that he can express. And probably you remember that's part that say, ay, 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 ay. Okay, you're gonna sing with me, that part. Even if you only sing the ay, 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 okay? And the last song is called Cucurú Cucú Paloma. And that song is about an expression of sadness in the heart of a man who was in love, but the girl left and she never come back. So Cucurú Cucú is how we say the dove mourning for something. And then we're going to dance. Like last year, do you remember that we danced? Okay. We won't dance something different, but we will. Okay. Qué bonitos ojos tienes debajo de esas 2 cejas, debajo de esas 2 cejas. Qué bonitos ojos tienes. Ellos me quieren mirar, pero si tú no los dejas, pero si tú no los dejas, ni siquiera parpadear. Malagueña salerosa, besar tus labios quisiera, besar tus labios quisiera. Malagueña salerosa, y decirte, niña hermosa, que eres linda y hechicera, que eres linda y hechicera como el candor de una rosa. De la Sierra Morena, cielito lindo, vienen bajando un par de ojitos negros, cielito lindo de contrabando. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones. Es el lunar que tienes, cielito lindo, junto a la boca. No se lo des a nadie, cielito lindo, que a mí me toca. Ay, 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 ay. Canta y no llores. Canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones. Dicen que por las noches ya no dormía, solo se le iba en puro tomar. Dicen que no dormía, solo se le iba en puro llorar. Juran que el mismo cielo se estremecía al oír su llanto. Cómo sufrió por ella, que hasta en su muerte le fue llamando. Cucurrucucú, paloma, cucurrucucú, no llores, las piedras jamás. Paloma, ¿qué van a saber de amores? So the next song, I've been singing that song with teenager children and adults, and I make through that song dancing a lot of people. So it's called Make Tue Tue Tamba. I don't know what it means that. It's just like hip hip hooray, like we do something and we sing it for Jesus. And we always, the last time I did it through the a video conference to a couple of children, 100 children that they were in a parish. They called me and they told me, can we sing for us and we can project it in the screen and we can sing with the children? So we did that and it works really well. So today I'm gonna teach you how to dance. If you want to dance with me, you're gonna dance with me. So the first step is we're gonna start to the front with the hands like that and we say, Make tue tue tamba, try to say it. And then go back, tua 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 tua. And one more time, Make tue tue tamba, tua 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 tua. Then with the hands in the air, we spin around and we say, Cristo es, Cristo es. This is the difficult part, okay? Two hands, you say, tutue, tutue tamba, tutue, tutue tamba, tutue, tutue tamba, tutue, tutue tamba. Okay? Let's try it one more time. 1, 2, 3. Tutue, tutue tamba, tutue, tutue tamba, tutue, tutue tamba, tutue, tutue tamba. Okay, the last time. So you after that we can stand and we dance. 1, 2, 3. Yes. 1. Oh, sorry. Tutue, tutue tamba, tutue, tutue tamba, tutue, tutue tamba, tutue, tutue tamba. Who learned that? Somebody can help me here? because I'll be playing. Who say me? Who? Burro? No burro? Come on, burro. Come on, burro. Burro, burro. Woo! Okay. Tutue, tutue tamba, tutue, tutue tamba, tutue tamba, tutue. There you go. Okay, everybody. Okay, now you can stand and let's dance. Ready? Ma che tue tamba tu. No, first is. Okay? 1, 2, 3, and ma che tue tamba tua. Ma che tue tamba tua. Cristo es, Cristo es, Cristo es, Cristo es. Tutue tamba tutue. What happened there? Come on, burro. One more time. Tutue tamba. Tutue tamba. Tutue tamba. Oh, no, sorry. I was right. Okay, one more time. Tutue tamba. Tutue tamba. Tutue tamba. Tutue. Okay, ready? Let's try it one more time. Ma che tue tamba tua. Ma che tue tamba tua. Cristo es, Cristo es, Cristo es, Cristo es. Tutue tamba tutue tamba. Tutue tamba tamba. One more time. Ma che tue tamba tua. Ma che tue tamba tua. Spin around. Cristo es, Cristo es, Cristo es, Cristo es. Tutue tamba tutue. Ready go.
Oh, man. Boy, I want to tell you something. I'm tired now. You know, remember old Sil used to have that puppet. What was his name? Schultz. Remember? Well, you know, Boudreaux was in New York a while back, and he was walking down the street, and he saw this sign that said, "Ventriloquist here tonight." Well, Boudreaux ain't never seen a ventriloquist, you know. So he went to the show, and that whole act for that ventriloquist was how dumb the Cajuns were. He'd been down in South Louisiana for a long time doing his act. And he got up there and he said, you know, them Cajuns are so dumb. They eat bugs that come out the ditch. They ain't got enough sense to get out the rain. They talk funny. Well, Boudreaux listened to that show, but boy, he was not pleased at all. So after the show, he went in the back and he knocked on the ventriloquist's door, and he said, when the guy came out, he said, my name is Alcide Boudreaux. He said, I'm from Plocherville, Louisiana. He said, and I heard that show tonight, and I'm not pleased at all. He said, it's true. I'm Cajun, 100% Cajun, and I want to tell you something. We do eat crawfish that come out of the ditch. That's bugs that come out of the ditch. That's crawfish. We eat alligator too. And he said, you kind of talk funny up here yourself. Guy says, well, Mr. Boudreaux, we want to apologize. I'm apologizing. That didn't mean nothing, but it was just an act. Boudreaux, I ain't talking to you. I'm talking to your smart like kid over there. All right, where's Wayne? We'll get Wayne up here. Wayne Thieneman. There he is.
No. Well, first thing I got to say is no habla español. Now, I like to sing 2 or 3 songs, if you mind. The first one is a slow song, and it's a nice song that if you want to get up and slow dance instead of doing the fast dance with your loved ones, then you're more than welcome to. So go ahead. And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I lived a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway and more, much more than this. I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do and saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this. I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I did up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall and did it my way. There goes my voice. I loved, I laughed and cried. I had my fill, my share of losing, and now, as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way. Oh no, not me. I did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. I'm not finished. Yes, it was my way. This next song was done by a man they called the King of Rock and Roll, and I definitely do not look like him. But it's one of my favorites of his song, and again, it's another song that I always sing to my wife whenever she's with me. She's not able to be here, and I'll talk about that in a second. But this next song is a song that I like singing to her, and you men, if you want to turn around and look at your wives, you may want to sing it to your wife too. And then you may not, I don't know. 44 years. Wise men say only fools rush in. If I can't help falling in love with you, shall I stay? Would it be a sin if I can't help falling in love with you? Like the river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. Take my hand, take my whole life too. If I can't help falling in love with you, like the river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. Take my hand, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you, for I can't help falling in This last song is a personal favorite of mine. I want to tell you a real short story. This has been a real bad year for me and my wife. In the first part of the year, I've been in and out of the hospital January, February, March for 3 or 4 different things. I'm not going into detail. And then just when we thought everything was okay, my wife last weekend, Saturday morning, she accidentally rolled out of the bed, hit her head on the side of the end table, put a big gash in her head, her whole face all swelled up, eyes swelled up and everything. The point is, this next song that I'm going to sing is a very special song to me and my wife, because if it wasn't for this song, and when I start singing it, anybody that wants to join in that knows it can sing with me, this song has helped me get through what we've been going through. Okay, go. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I'm tired, I'm weak, I'm torn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When my way grows drear, precious Lord, linger near. When my light is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When the darkness appears and the night draw near, and the day is past and gone, at the river I stand, guide my feet, hold my hand, take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. Okay, now you know the words. Let's everybody sing it. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I'm tired, I'm weak, I'm torn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. I want you all to know I want you all to know we picked us up a new sponsor this year. Man, I tell you what, I went out and got this sponsor. It's called Boudreaux's Butt Paste. And that's our real stuff, too, partner. Now, I want to tell you, you know, when you go out and you do your ministry, sometimes you run into some difficulties and you get irritated in a certain part of your body. You take this stuff and you take it out the box and out the tube, and you put some in your hand and you rub that where it hurts or irritated. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's the best stuff you can get. So go out right now and get our sponsor, Boudreaux's Butt Paste. And I'm going to tell you, this is the real stuff. I know George Boudreaux. He was a pharmacist in Covington, Louisiana. And this is zinc oxide, but he invented this stuff. And he was selling it locally. And Walgreens came along and wanted his corner. He gave him an exorbitant price, and they paid it. He drives around in a great big 45-foot motorhome called a Buttmobile. And I tailgate with him down at LSU. He's a great guy. And it's a true product, and it's sold countrywide. Now, some of you know that, you know. And so anyhow, it's our new sponsors. Let's patronize our sponsors now. Remember, y'all going to get irritated. Boudreaux's Butt Paste. It cures whatever irritates you. All right, now, our good friend from Georgia, Mr. Alfred Mitchell, is here this week. And we're going to get Alfred up here to tell us one of his stories like he used to do all the time. Alfred.
I'm telling you, guys are fast for twins. I want to share with you a story or two that I've used in my homilies and retreats and other presentations, and feel free to use them if you like to. But before I do that, Wayne, where's Wayne again? Where did he go? Oh, that My Way, When I Was Young and Foolish, was one of my favorite songs. That and William Henry Bryant's Invictus, out of the night that covers me, black as a pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods there may be for my unconquerable soul. But that was when I was young and foolish. I've learned a little bit since then, thank goodness. Okay. Our first story is an African tale. It's a story about a very, very wise chief, very well respected and loved by all of his people. Matter of fact, he was so well loved and held in such high esteem that very often chiefs from other villages and other people would come to him for advice. And his reputation for being wise was known throughout the area. But on one occasion, the elders in the village came to him and said, "Chief, we have discovered that there is a thief among us." And the chief was very upset about this and asked him, "Well, who is it?" And they hesitated and they hesitated. And finally they told him, "The thief is, well, we just can't tell you who it is because we don't know at this point." But the chief said, "Well, if the person who is a thief will come forward and confess their sins, I will forgive them. But the punishment will be 5 lashes. Well, the chief said, "And if the person who does not come forward, then we will keep adding more lashes." Well, time passed, no one came forward, and finally the chief kept adding lashes and lashes. It got up to the point where it was 40 lashes. And they knew that was a virtual death sentence, because nobody in the village could withstand 40 lashes given the strength and the power of the executioner. So one day they came to the chief again and said, "Chief, we have discovered who the thief is." And they asked, "Are you going to keep the punishment?" And the chief said, "Yes, I will, 40 lashes. And they told him, "The thief is your mother." Well, the chief faced a dilemma. He knew his mother could not withstand 40 lashes. And he also knew that if there wasn't some kind of punishment, that might encourage other people to be thieves also. So the chief pondered about it, but finally he said, we will carry out the punishment. So on the day that his mother was due to be punished, they brought her out and they strapped her to the whipping post, and the executioner stood there with his whip ready to begin administering the punishment. He raised his whip, and the chief held his hand up and said, stop. And he stood up and he took off his headpiece. He took off his tunic. He took off all his garments down to his loincloth. And then he walked over to the post where his mother was, and very carefully he laid his broad chest across her back. He put his stout legs behind her frail ones, wrapped his arms around her, and with his head he nodded to the executioner to begin the punishment. The chief took the 40 lashes because of love for his mother. Our God took the scourging and crucifixion because of his love for us. We should always keep that in mind. The second story, you know that the linchpin of any good relationship is good communications. If communications are bad, things don't go the way they ought to go. So with that in mind, I want to tell you a story about 3 young men in the prime of life involved in a tragic accident, and they were killed. Well, they came up to the pearly gates and told St. Peter they were there to be checked in. St. Peter got his ledger out, and he started going through the office, and he stopped. He said, oh, somebody has made a terrible mistake. He said, it's not your time. You guys don't belong here. So they said, well, good, send us back. St. Peter said, well, I got to get some advice on this. So he goes into the Lord. He said, Lord, he says, I got these 3 guys out here. Somebody made a mistake. They're not supposed to be here now. It's not their time. The Lord said, okay, Peter, well, that's okay. Send them back. He said, but don't send them back as human beings, because that might cause a few problems. Anything else, send them back. So he goes out and says, fellas, I've got some good news and some not so good news. I've got to send you back, but I can't send you back as human beings. So what would you like to do? Well, the first guy stepped up and he says, I'm an explorer. Send me back as a great gray eagle in the Amazon rainforest. I've always wanted to explore the rainforest, the Amazon River Basin. St. Peter says, okay, says a few words, claps his hands, and away he goes. Second guy steps up and says, well, St. Peter, I'm an explorer too, but I'm a sailor. I like to see all the world's great oceans and great cities. So send me back as a great blue whale. St. Peter says a few words, claps his hand, and away he goes. The third guy steps up with a big smile on his face and says, St. Peter, I want to be a stud. St. Peter said, stud? And away he goes. Well, time passes. The Lord comes out and says, Peter, you know those 3 guys we sent back? It wasn't their time? Yes, Lord. Well, it's time to bring them back. St. Peter says a few words, claps his hands, up comes the first guy and says, how was it? Oh, it was absolutely fabulous. He said, I saw all the rainforest. I saw all of South America from Cape Horn all the way up to the Panama Canal. It was just absolutely wonderful. Come on in. Claps his hands again and says a few words. Second guy comes back. How was it? Oh, St. Peter, it was great. I explored all of the world's oceans, around the Indian Ocean, around Cape of Good Hope, into the Atlantic, everywhere. I saw all lights of all the world's great cities. It was absolutely marvelous. Come on in. Well, St. Peter claps his hands and says a few words, and nothing happens. Claps his hands, says a few words again, nothing happens. The Lord says, well, Peter, what about the third guy? Lord, I can't bring him back. What do you mean you can't bring him back? What did he want to be? He wanted to be a stud. Well, why can't you bring him back? He's a 2x4 in some guy's garage in Kansas City. So, the moral, of course, is be sure that your communications are clear and well understood. Okay. And my last story on a more serious note is a young man comes into the room of his teacher and he says, Teacher, I want you to teach me about God. So now that I have mastered all my studies, I stand head and shoulders above all other students. I want to know about God. So in the martial arts, my instructors tell me that I am almost as good as they are. I have mastered that too. And he went on to say that on the athletic field, I can throw the discus and the javelin further than anyone else. I can jump higher and further than anyone else. I have also mastered that. Now that I've mastered all those things, teach me about God. And the teacher said, sit down, young man, and I will teach you about God. But let us share a cup of tea. So he took the teapot and he began to pour tea in the young man's cup. And he filled the cup and he kept pouring. Tea spilled onto the table, onto the cup, onto the saucer. He kept pouring. Tea spilled onto the table and he kept pouring. Finally, tea began to spill onto the floor. And the young man jumped up and he grabbed the teacher's arm and said, stop. Can't you see it's full? Yes, it is full. And so are you. And when you've emptied yourself, come back and I shall teach you about God. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfred. You know, Boudreaux went to a travel agency and he was going to Israel. So he decided he wanted to rent a boat on the Sea of Galilee. The guy, travel agency, said, boy, I'll tell you what, Boudreaux, he said, that's expensive here. He said, man, that's $300 an hour to rent that boat. Boudreaux said, man, he said, $300 an hour, you could rent a shrimp boat for that for 2 weeks. I said, yeah, but you don't realize, he said, the Sea of Galilee, that's where Jesus walked on the water. Boudreaux said, at that price, no wonder he walked. Now we're going to get old Sil Galvin up here to give us and you know one of the songs we always want him to sing, those of you who have been here. Where's Sil? Sil, a.k.a. well, I'm not going to say.
Sil had a little TIA last August. I follow him everywhere. Just a little. Just a little.
I didn't know that. It wasn't half that much fun, right? Okay. All right. I wanted to bring the missus up because, you know, every good pianist, they sometimes have a page turner, and it does a really important job. So that's what Dar's here to help me with today. And I tried to select a few songs that, this is our 12th year of attending, and I wanted to pick some of the songs that, you know, have been requested so much in the past. And these are songs you should know, obviously. Two of them are the Kingston Trio. Okay, so please join in. Come on like a dream, peaches and cream, lips like strawberry wine. You're 16, you're beautiful, and you're mine. You're all ribbons and curls, ooh, what a girl, eyes that sparkle and shine. You're 16, you're beautiful, and you're mine, 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 mine. You're my baby, you're my pet. We fell in love on the night we met. You touched my hand, my heart went pop. Ooh, when we kissed, I could not stop. You walked out of my dreams and into my arms, and now you're my angel divine. You're 16, you're beautiful, and you're mine. You're my baby, you're my pet. We fell in love on the night we met. You touched my hand, my heart went pop. Oh, when we kissed, I could not stop. You walked out of my dreams and into my car, and now you're my angel divine. You're 16, you're beautiful, and you're mine, mine. You're 16, you're beautiful, and you're mine. You're 16, you're beautiful, and you're mine. Thank you. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley. Hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley. Poor boy, you're bound to die. I met her on a mountain. There I took her life. Up there on that mountain, I stabbed her with my knife. Oh, well, now, boys, hang down your head, Tom Dooley. Hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, 'cause poor boy, you're bound to die. This time tomorrow morning, reckon where I'll be. Down in some lonesome valley, swinging from a tall oak tree. Oh, well, now, boys, hang down your head, Tom Dooley. Hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley. Poor boy, you're bound to die. Met her on a mountain, 'cause there I took her life. Up there on that mountain, I stabbed her with my knife. One more time now. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley. Hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, 'cause poor boy, you're bound to die. Let me tell you the story of a man named Charlie on a tragic, fateful day. He put 10 cents in his pocket, kissed his wife and family, went to ride on the MTA. Well, did he ever return? No, he never returned. His fate is still unlearned. Poor old Charlie, he may ride forever 'neath the streets of Boston. He's the man who never returned. Charlie put in his nickels at the Kendall Street station, bound for Jamaica Plain. And when he got there, conductor said just one more nickel. Charlie couldn't get off of that train. Well, did he ever return? No, he never returned, and his fate is still unlearned. Poor old Charlie, ride forever 'neath the streets of Boston. He's the man who never returned. Now all night long, Charlie rides through that station crying, what will become of me? How can I afford to see my sister in Chelsea or my brother in Roxbury? Well, did he ever return? No, he never returned. His fate is still unlearned. Poor old Charlie, he may ride forever 'neath the streets of Boston. He's the man who never returned. Charlie's wife goes down to the Scully Square station every day about 2:15. And through the open window she and Charlie o sandwich as the train goes rumbling through. Well, did he ever return? No, he never returned. His fate is still unlearned. Poor old Charlie, he may ride forever 'neath the streets of Boston. He's the man who never returned. Now, you citizens of Boston, don't you think it's a crime the way the people pay and pay? Fight the fare increase, vote for George C. Murphy, help get Charlie off that MTA. Did he ever return? No, he never returned, and his fate is still unlearned. Poor old Charlie, he may ride forever, beats the streets of Boston. He's the man who never returned. Puff the magic dragon, live by the sea, and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff the magic dragon, live by the sea, and frolicked in Together they would travel on a boat with billowed sail. Jackie kept a lookout perched on Puff's gigantic tail. Noble kings and princes would bow whene'er they came, and pirate ships would lower their flag when Puff roared out his name. Oh, Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. You know, a dragon lives forever, but not so little boys. Painted wings and giant's rings make way for other toys. One gray night it happened, Jackie Paper came no more, and Puff, that mighty dragon, well, he ceased his fearless roar. Oh, Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. You know, his head was bent in sorrow, green scale fell like rain. Puff no longer went to play along the cherry lane. Without his lifelong friend, Puff could not be brave. So Puff, that mighty dragon, sadly slipped into his cave. Well, last time, Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll have to do it again sometime. I know. Got it.
Thank you, Sil. Thank you, Sil. Somebody told me they might have a story. Does somebody else want to come up here and tell a story? Oh, there he is. There he is. I forgot. So we'll get Jack up here, and he told me he has a story he wants to tell. So let's give Jack our staunch attention. Hey, Jack. Oh, he needs my help. Another one that needs my help.
Now, Boudreaux, I have something that's been perplexing me for many, many years.
Okay.
Before I got messed up with this deacon stuff, my wife and I used to go to Florida for the winters. And while we were down there, she was always asking me to go to a fortune teller. I said, I don't believe in that stuff. She, oh, yeah. She says, I believe in it. She says, I had a previous life, and she was telling me all about it. And I said, no, I can't believe in that stuff. Well, she kept on, and she kept on, and she kept on. And finally I said, that's it. I'm going to go to one of these people just to keep her quiet. So we went one day, and I said, I'm going to be very careful. I'm not going to let this lady know anything about me. So I go in, we sit down, and she starts telling me things about myself, and I'm expressionless, I'm not saying anything, and she's telling me things. I don't know how she could know these things, but she keeps telling me these things. I said, no, this is really strange. And she said, you know, you had a previous life too. I said, I did? She says, yeah. She said, in your previous life, you were a dog. I said, a dog? Wait a minute, come on. She says, yeah, you were a dog. And she said, that life ended when you got shot in the head. I said, oh, yeah? Well, then I got to thinking about it. You know, I'm a doctor. And when I was in medical school, I asked all my teachers and professors about this strange hole I have in my head. And none of them could ever explain why I have this very strange hole in my head. Now, I've been to wise people all over the world trying to explain how this lady could know this. Nobody could explain to me how she knew this. I said, but it is really strange. Feel this thing right here.
Right there.
Bark!
Bark! Boy, I don't get no respect, no. Talking about dogs. When Boudreaux was in school, he was studying, he wanted to be a veterinarian. But to put himself through school, he took up taxidermy. And you know, he got his degree in veterinary, and he put up a sign that says, Dr. Alcide Boudreaux, veterinarian taxidermist. Thibodeau came and I said, Boo, you know, so you gotta do better than that on that sign. You gotta put something catchy. I want you to go back and think and rewrite that sign and put something else up there. So he did, and he got a new sign made, and it read, Dr. Alcide Boudreaux, veterinarian, taxidermist. Either way, you get your dog back. You know, Boudreaux was walking along the bayou side one day, and Reverend Thibodeau was baptizing people in the bayou. He looked up there and he said, Boudreaux, he said, you ever been baptized, you? He said, no. He said, I never been baptized. He said, well, come on down here. I'm going to baptize you. So Boudreaux got in the water, and Reverend Thibodeau took him, and he dunked him under the water, and he pulled him back up. He said, Boudreaux, you seen the Lord? He said, no, I ain't seen the Lord. So he put him back in again, hold him down a little bit longer, and he pulled him back up, and he said, you seen the Lord this time? He said, no, I ain't seen the Lord. Put him down a third time and held him down there for a long time, and Boudreaux come up spitting, sputtering, and Reverend Thibodeau said, Boudreaux, you seen the Lord this time? He said, Reverend Thibodeau, you sure this is where he fell in? Oh, boy. Boudreaux went in the bar one day, and he told him, he said, bartender, he said, a round of drinks for everybody, and you, one for you, too. So he set him up. A little while later, Boudreaux said, bartender, he said, another round for drinks for everybody. And he said, you, another one for you, too. Well, this went on a while, and finally the bartender said, Boudreaux, it's getting close to closing time, and he said, it's time to pay your tab. He said, $62.50. Boudreaux said, I ain't got no money. He said, you ain't got no money, and you come in here and order drinks for everybody. What's the matter with you? Oh, he said, I just want to see people have a good time. Man, that bartender took him and knocked him off that stool onto the floor. Finally crawls back up. He said, bartender, he said, another round for drinks for everybody, but you, none for you. You're too mean when you drink. Boudreaux, Thibodeau, and Melanson took up mountain climbing. And they were on the mountain, and all of a sudden, one of them slipped. Melanson slipped. And they all tethered with this rope, you know, and they're hanging on. And they knew that the weight of all three of them on that rope, somebody had to, you know, get off because they were going to all fall. So they said, well, you know, they decided that one of them had to go. So finally, Thibodeau gave an impassioned speech and told them that he was going to let go. And boy, they got so excited, Boudreaux applauded. Boudreaux had a flight back from Houston on Southwest Airlines a while back. This has been a good while ago. And he got home, and boy, he went straight to the couch and laid down, and Marie came over and said, "What's the matter, boo?" Said, "You look so tired and worn out. What's the matter?" Oh, he said, he said, them Southwest Airlines, they got them seats facing each other, and he said, I was flying backwards the whole time, and I got kind of sick. Well, she said, well, why didn't you ask the person across from you to switch? I said, I couldn't. There wasn't anybody in that seat. That's almost as bad as Cajun Airlines. Man, Boudreaux and Marie went to the Northeast one time, and they were visiting at Harvard University. You know, there's a school up there in the Northeast. And they're walking around the campus, and Boudreaux wanted to see the library. So this up-and-uppy guy from Harvard come along, and Boudreaux said, hey, Shy, he said, can you tell me where the library's at? Guy said, you never end a sentence with a preposition. Boudreaux said, all right. He said, can you tell me where the library's at, fool? Boudreaux was babysitting his little nephew, a little toddler. And Thibodeau came over there, and little toddler was crawling across the porch, and he had a diaper that was full, man. Thibodeau said, Boudreaux. He said, look at that cloth diaper. You got to change that. He said, why don't you get some of the disposed diapers, You take that and you just throw that away. So a few days later, Thibodeau came back, and Boudreaux had gotten some of those disposable diapers, and that little baby came across the porch again, and that diaper was full. Thibodeau said, Boudreaux, look at that. He said, that diaper's full. He said, why don't you change that? Boudreaux said, no. It ain't ready yet. He said, what you mean it ain't ready? We said, look at the box. It's up to 25 pounds. Boudreaux, man. Boudreaux told Thibodeau one day, he said, Thibodeau, he said, I know everybody, and everybody know me. Thibodeau said, oh, come on, Boudreaux. That can't be. Oh, yeah. He said, I bet you don't know the governor. Oh, yeah, and the governor knows me, too. So they drove up to Baton Rouge, and they go in the governor's office, and the secretary said, oh, Mr. Boudreaux, good to see you. The governor will be with you in a minute. Thibodeau said, my God, that's something. I bet you don't know the president. President don't know you, I'm sure. He said, let's go. I bet you $1,000 the president know me. So they drove to Washington. They go in the president's office, and sure enough, Boudreaux, how you been? Boy, it's good to see you. He said, see that, Thibodeau? I told you. He said, I bet you don't know the Pope, and the Pope don't know you. Huh. He said, let's go. I bet you another $1,000. So they go to Rome. Big crowd out there in Vatican Square. Boudreaux told Thibodeau, he said, you stand right here. He said, I'm going to go up there. And you see that little balcony up there? He said, I'm going to come out there with the Pope. Well, sure enough, here come Boudreaux and the Pope. And Thibodeau, the guy next to him, he said, you know those guys up there? He said, yeah. He said, I don't know the one with the little beanie on, but the other one, that's Boudreaux from Louisiana. I'll give you one or two more, and then we go drink a little bit. Let me see. Anybody want to get them, go get a drink, patronize our other sponsors over there, please do so. Don't let them sit there doing nothing. They getting paid to do nothing. Boudreaux bought him a chainsaw. He was a woodcutter. He cut firewood and stuff like that. And he went down to the Walmart store, and associate said, Boudreaux, he said, you cut wood, huh? He said, yeah, how much you cut a day? Boudreaux said, well, I get my handsaw. I cut about a half a cord a day is all I can do. He said, well, why don't you get you one of these new chainsaws here? He said, man, you can cut 6 cords of wood in a day with this. So Boudreaux bought that chainsaw. The first day, he cut about 3/4 of a cord. He said, maybe I didn't work long enough. So next day, he got up a lot earlier, and he worked a little later, and he cut at best a cord and a half. man, he said, that's still not what he told me it would do. So third day he got up way before dawn, lit a lantern, got out there and started cutting wood and worked till way after dark, and the best he could do was 2 cords. He said, oh, there's something wrong with this saw. He said, I got to take that back. So he went back in and he told the guy, he said, look, he said, this saw don't do what you told me. He said, there's something wrong with it. The guy said, well, let me see that saw. So he pulled it and it started, and Boudreaux said, what's that noise? Boudreaux and Thibodeau were in Houston one time, and they saw the sign in this store. They said, shirts, $2.50, pants, $2.75, coats, $5. Boudreaux looked at Thibodeau and said, oh, man, he said, that sounds like a good thing. He said, let's buy a bunch of that, and we can take that back to Louisiana and sell that and make some money. Well, they went in there, and Boudreaux told him, he said, I want 100 of them coats. I want 200 of them shirts, and I want 200 of them pants. The guy said, man, he said, what you going to do with that? He said, I'm going to take that back and sell that. The guy said, man, he said, I got to tell you this. He says, this is a dry cleaner's. Oh, yeah, Boudreaux and Thibodeau loved that bungee jumping. So they decided they'd go to Mexico and build a bungee jumping tower. And so they took their equipment down there, and off they went. Come down there, and they started building that tower, and those Mexicans got kind of curious, gathering around. And, man, when that tower was finished, they had a lot of people down there. And Boudreaux looked at Thibodeau. He said, you know, Tib, he said, I better test this thing out before we let them Mexicans jump to make sure it's safe and everything. So he tied the cord around him, and off he went. Well, he came back up. He was kind of scratched up, and Thibodeau missed him. Couldn't pull him back on the platform. So he went down again, and he came up a second time, and he was scratched up even more. And Thibodeau missed him again. Well, on the third trip up, he was almost unconscious. Thibodeau reached out and pulled him on into the platform. He said, what's the matter, Boo? He said, the cord's too long. He said, no, Thibodeau, what's a piñata? One more, and then we'll kind of wrap it up for the night. They had these 3 Cajuns, Boudreaux, Thibodeau, and Melançon, fishing on the lake. And Melançon was in the front of the boat, and Thibodeau was in the middle, and Boudreaux was in the back. And all of a sudden, Melançon sees this guy walking across the water. Came up to the boat, and he looked down, he could see those toes sticking out the water, and he said, you walking on the water? He says, I am. He said, who you think you are, Jesus? He said, I am. Oh, he said, you got to prove that to me. He said, all right. He said, you got anything wrong with you? He said, yes, my neck is stiff. He said, I can't turn it. So Jesus reached out and touched him. He could turn it like an owl. So he meandered toward the middle of the boat where Thibodeau was. He said, you got something wrong with you? Oh, yeah. He says, it's my arthritis elbow here. He said, I can't cast, real good. He said, left-handed, I can't do what I want. And Jesus touched his elbow, and he could cast like the champion fisherman Bill Dance. So he started back to the back of the boat where Boudreaux was, and before he got there, Boudreaux stood up, and he said, wait a minute, hold yourself, don't you mess with me, I'm out on workers' comp. And of course, can you see that you could use these stories in homilies? Think about what gospel you can tie that into. And then the other one, and I told this, the story on the road of the 2 on the road to Emmaus. Boudreaux was a very homely man. Prayed and prayed and prayed. Finally, the Lord said, Boudreaux, go to the gym, fix yourself up, cut your hair, buy new clothes, do this, do that. And Boudreaux did all those things. And, man, one day he looked in the mirror and he liked what he saw. So he called this lady for a date, and she said yes. And Boudreaux got all excited, so he shined up his pickup truck, he put a new suit on, and off he went to pick her up. He drives in her driveway, gets out of the truck, gets hit by lightning, and dies. He goes up to heaven, and he said, Lord, 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 why? Why? He said, I did everything you told me. The Lord said, sorry, Boudreaux, I just didn't recognize you. And that's just one. I use them in my homilies. And the one I use in my mission appeal, Halva, and we'll end with this. I tell the people, of course, I preach up north, and I said, well, I guess y'all can tell by my accent I'm not from here. I said, how many of y'all watch the History Channel Alligators, the alligator hunters, the swamp people? And they raised their hand. Well, that's where I'm from, down there. I said, but I'm going to tell you, there's a guy down there named Boudreaux who's not the brightest bulb in the string. But somehow he got elected to the lay board at the church. At the very first meeting, the preacher stood up and said, we got a little bit of money set aside, and with that money, I propose we buy a new chandelier for this church. And Boudreaux thought about that a while, and he stood up and he said, I can't go along with that idea, that chandelier thing. He said, first of all, who among us could spell that, so how would we order it? He said, if that thing came in, who could play it? He said, what I think this church needs is more light. So I tell him to hold on to that thought, and I go into the mission appeal homily. And I finish off by saying, you know, our friend Boudreaux was right. This church does need more light. We are that light. God bless you. And we have one more thing before we go, you know, and we're talking about many, many things in ministry and many, many pitfalls in ministry, and yet we somehow keep going. And and there's something that makes us keep going because we want to do God's work. I have a song that I'd like for you to follow along and sing with us, and it tells us exactly why we do what we do, and it's because He lives. Maestro, please stand so he can really belt it out.
God sent His Son, they called Him Jesus. He came to love, heal and forgive. He lived and died
You're all Protestants now. You know, that song in a lot of our lives to me, it has a special meaning, going through the loss of my son, my wife, and realizing that I can go on, and you can go on, and all of us who have experienced things in our lives that tear us down, we can go on. We never, you know, the shortest speech that was ever made was Winston Churchill. He spoke at a college graduation, I think. And the thing he said, he got up and he said, never, 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 never quit. And he sat down. And the English didn't quit in World War II, did they? So we can't quit either. We got work to do. We got to spread the love. God bless. But as you know, there is tradition. Ask all those who performed tonight to please come forward. And you all know, those of you who have been here, that we always finish with one special hymn, Holy God. And all God's people said, Amen. Don't forget, Joseph Club is in here tonight, down at the end. Patronize our sponsors. Butt paste and beer.